New at 4, former President Donald Trump has appealed a state Supreme Court decision that removed him from the Colorado primary ballot.
That appeal was filed in the last 2 hours. Trump is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to determine he is qualified to run for office. 9 News political reporter Marshall Zellinger has been reporting on this case. It is so complicated. You understand it. The Colorado Republican Party already appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, but now Trump is seeking something that the GOP did not.
Yeah, he's specifically asking the U.S. Supreme Court to say he did not engage in insurrection like the Colorado Supreme Court determined. This is the second appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Colorado Republican Party appealed last week, and yesterday the 6 Colorado voters supporting the Supreme Court decision to take up the case, as did Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold. Trump's appeal basically dittos the Colorado Republican Party appeal, but it makes these three specific points: that the office of president is not bound by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that can disqualify someone from holding office again. The appeal says that Congress should decide someone's eligibility for running for office under the 14th Amendment, and that it's not something for state courts to decide. And the newest tidbit is that Trump wants the nation's highest court to reverse the Colorado ruling that he engaged in insurrection on January 6th. It seems certain the U.S. Supreme Court will have to take this case, particularly with the Secretary of State in the state of Maine disqualifying Trump because of the 14th Amendment. You also have that administrative issue in Maine, a legal issue in Colorado. So let's say the Supreme Court does take this up. The justices have been asked to move fast so that the eligibility question can be determined before March 5th, when Colorado and several other states hold their primaries.
And that's unusual, right? For them to make a decision that quickly? Highly unusual.
Here saying, yes, we'll take it, hear the arguments, and make a decision, that is rare. I'm not the expert in how rare, but yeah, this is something that would normally, we've had several cases, like the Masterpiece Cake Shop case. Yeah. We've had the faithless elector, where someone wanted to vote for someone other than, God, I'm already drawing a blank. It was the Biden presidency, where they wanted to fill someone else's name in. And so it was, those cases took time, years, I want to say, before it was appealed through the courts, and then ultimately got to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then months and months before the oral argument, and then months went by before the decision. Yeah, this is truncated for sure.
Yeah. Well, so many people had debated, like, if they could have a way that they could technically pass on it or move on. But the way this appeal is filed, it sounds like they kind of have to take it.
By doing nothing, it doesn't solve the dilemma of states by states doing different things that would mean that Trump might be left off the ballot in some states and might be on the ballot in some states, and it just doesn't seem like the best option when the option is for the highest court in the land to say, here is what is happening now.
And since we were first, does that mean it sets the precedent? If they act on Colorado, then it trickles down to all the others who have made their, cases?
I mean, you have Colorado and Maine involved, and Michigan had said this wasn't up to us to decide. Right. So you bring all that into play, but a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court would trickle down to all the states to have to abide by. Now, Colorado's election law is different than other states' election law, which is how we got here in the first place. Our election law allows someone to go to court and say, this person is not qualified to run for that office, and we need a court to say, you, Secretary of State, do not put that person on the ballot. That's what our law says. Michigan's law didn't allow for a voter to come and do that, and that's why Michigan's Supreme Court basically said, not our place to decide.
Okay. Wow. Iowa caucus a week and a half away or something like that. So this is, woo! All right. Thank you, Marshall.